You're listening to the MTG Soul Weekly Podcast. This is the week of June 29th to July 5th, 2026. Hey everyone. First full week after Marvel Superheroes release, and it came with the July 4th weekend. A little under $1 million, $899,711 in TCG players sold revenue. That was across 5,812 units. Overall, down 10% on revenue, down 21% on units from last week. That does sound like a cooldown, and I think some of it is, but July 4th landing on a Saturday crushed the weekend numbers. Saturday and Sunday averaged 780 units versus the normal 1,100 on the weekdays. Average sale price actually went up from $136 to $155 because the buyer mix shifted towards collector products. So, fewer people bought, but the ones who did spent more. I think this is mostly a holiday dip. The weekday numbers look normal. We'll know next week. Jumping into the headlines for the week. Avengers Assemble and Doom Prevails finally got restocked enough. This is a story I've been tracking for 3 weeks, and it resolved. 2 weeks ago, Avengers Assemble was at 41.8 average quantity with 3.86 sell-through. Last week, the first restock arrived. Supply grew 58%, and sell-through barely budged from the sell-through ratio of 3.78. I said the restock arrived and it was not enough. This week, a second wave hit. Average quantity more than doubled from 66.2 to 149.8. Sellers grew from 16.1 to 42. Sell-through dropped, though, to 0.89. Price down 4.5% to $68.06. Doom Prevails followed the same pattern. Average quantity grew from 87.3 to $160 units. Sellers from 20.8 to 44.7. Sell-through fell to 0.92, price down 6.9% to $93.15. Both products are still absorbing at healthy rates near 1-to-1, which means demand did not disappear. But the structural crunch is over. These are no longer a scarcity product. They are normally supplied commander decks with solid demand. That is a different and less interesting story, so I'm retiring both from the weekly tracking thread. In the next headline, Jumpstart is now the only story. Here's what makes the Jumpstart numbers strange. Every other Marvel product got restocked over the past 2 weeks. Jumpstart lost another 15% of its inventory. Volume-weighted average price went from $128.57 to $154.44, up 20% in 1 week. Sell-through with a positive ratio of 3.33. Average quantity dropped from 52.2 to 44.5, which is below the 50-unit threshold I flagged last week as the scarcity trigger. Seller count ticked up from 14.9 to 17. So, new sellers are trying to participate, but they can't list products that don't exist in the channel. The WotC and the distributor supply constraint on Jumpstart is still in effect. Whatever is holding this product back is not a normal restock delay. It has been weeks. At 44.5 average quantity with a 3.3x sell-through, the supply runway is measured in days. If this drops below 40 next week, I think we see a move towards 170, 180. I don't say that lightly though, because I've been cautious about price predictions in prior episodes, but the mechanics here are as clear as they get. In the next headline, Final Fantasy Collector tier is building quietly. I want to flag this because it's easy to miss in a week dominated by Marvel. The Final Fantasy Collector Boosters display gained 14.3% to 1,458 volume-weighted average price. 63 units at 1,458. That is $91,868 in weekly revenue from one product. Supply contracted 21.6%, sellers down 13.3%. Sell-through 0.59 ratio. The Collector Booster Pack, the individual pack, gained 16.7%, up to $125.57, on supply down 25.1%. Both products are tightening on supply simultaneously, and neither has had the kind of event catalyst that drove the Marvel crunch. My read, this is just a post-launch absorption, working through the available inventory. It makes it quieter and I think more sustainable. A price move driven by gradual supply drawdown is harder to reverse with a single restock than a spike driven by a pre-release weekend. In the next headline, Scene boxes broke below $27. Third consecutive week on the decliner board. Villains Unleashed at $26.22. Heroes United at $26.93, both down 14 to 16%. But here's something that changed. Volume roughly doubled on both. Villains went from 66 to 119 units, Heroes from 81 to 127 units. The lower price is attracting bargain buyers, and supply actually contracted 12% on both, as some sellers presumably decided $26 was not worth the listing. Sell-through ratio improved on a scale roughly of 10%. I'm not going to call this a floor. 589 units of inventory with 119 selling per week is still a 5-week backlog on villains, but the direction changed for the first time. Demand is responding to price, and supply is responding to seller exits. If sell-through gets above 0.30 next week, and mechanics start working in the right direction, we'll see what happens. I personally am not bullish on this product at all. Some follow-ups from last week. Chocobo bundle, $294.82, up 3%. Supply down to 96.1, sellers at 51.0. Last week I said if this holds above the $280, the equilibrium is $285 to $295. It held and bounced. I think this is subtle. The breakout from $239 resolved to a $285, $295 equilibrium. Unless something structural changes, I'm dropping it from the weekly tracking. In the next follow-up, Strixhaven bundle, $38.50, down 5.6%. 2 weeks ago, I said one more data point and I'll call the floor. Then the decline reaccelerated from a minus 3.3% to minus 4.4% to a whopping 5.6% negative. I was wrong about the floor being in the low 40s. This product is still falling. Supply is slightly down to 476.7, but sell-through at a ratio of 0.27 is not enough to stabilize the price. Keeping it active, the floor might be 35, 37. Avatar Collector Booster Display, $419.01, up 2.1%. Supply down 17.1% to 175.9. Still tightening, but the pace is slower than the Final Fantasy Collector tier. The pack dropped below the reporting threshold this week, so I'm only tracking the display going forward. One of the pairs gone, which weakens the signal, keeping it active with lower confidence. Duskmorn Endless Punishment. I've been talking about this for almost like 7 weeks now. Dropped below the reporting threshold. The volume went quiet. I don't know if that means if the product stabilized at $194 or if demand evaporated. No data to really evaluate this week. We're tying this until next week. Wakanda Forever, $53.37, basically flat, plus 0.3% in price. Sell-through ratio of 0.86, average quantity of $208.08. I'm sorry, 208.8 units, down 6.9%. The post-restock level is holding in the low 50s. Supply is slowly contracting. This product found its equilibrium, retiring from this thread. One new thread, Lost Caverns Velociraptor deck. This appeared on the sell-through table at 1.43x on 50.3 average quantity. Volume weighted average price $104.90 on 72 units across 72 orders, all single copy purchases. Supply contracted 25.5%, sellers down 11.4%. An older product quietly draining, flagging it. If sell-through holds above 1.0 next week, this is a real crunch. If it drops back below, it was a 1-week compression. We'll see next week. And for our final segment, what to watch next week. 1. Jumpstart Booster Display. Below 40 average quantity is the next threshold. If it gets there with sell-through still above 3.0, $170 plus volume weighted average price is the target. Seller count is the secondary indicator. 2. Post-holiday volume recovery. If total cohort revenue bounces back above 950K and units above 6,000, the July 4th dip was seasonal. If it stays below the post-release demand curve, may be bending. 3. Final Fantasy Collector Booster Display. At $1,458 on supply down 21.6%. If the drawdown continues, 1,500 plus is next. If supply stabilizes, the move stalls. 4. Scene box sell-through. Both doubled at volume at $26 and $27. If sell-through gets above the 0.30, the floor is forming. If not, sub $24. 5. Strixhaven bundle. $38.50 and still falling. 35 to 37 is the next range to test. That's it. Numbers are in their full report and MTG sold. See you next week.